Hot bitumen is a serious substance. What happens if it's not cooled is it continues to burn its way through the skin. This can involve the underlying muscles. If that happens, you need to go to surgery. Inevitably, there will be a period of up to 12 months where you have to have intense physiotherapy, and even after that, it may take up to 3 to 5 years for the scars to completely settle. This can have a significant effect on both the patient and their family.
This programme, as with our Safe Handling of Bitumen booklet, highlights European best practice, showing NINA's recommendations based on Eurobitumen documentation on safe bitumen delivery. Bitumen isn't classed as a hazardous product. However, for ADR transportation, bitumen is classed as dangerous goods because of its elevated temperature. When it's heated to high temperatures for handling and transportation, bitumen can present a risk from serious burns. Unlike more hazardous products like acid or petrol, it's sometimes easy to forget how hazardous bitumen can become, which makes it easier to overlook the basic things we must do to deal with bitumen safely. That's what the contents of this program is about, to help everyone get home from work safe every day. The team at NINA's is committed to helping our customers and partners work safely with our products, because serious accidents can often be caused by nothing more than a series of minor oversights. Messages conveyed in this program are also found in the NINA's Safety Handbook. Bitumen safety awareness training is important for everyone involved in the safe delivery, handling and storage of bitumen products. So, in an emergency situation, you'll know what actions to take. That's why at NINA's we believe and demonstrate our safety message: observe, think and act. On arrival at the site, the driver must report to the weighbridge or site office. The site representative will check and sign the driver's documentation. You must always be aware of potential hazards, thinking how we can minimize them, then acting to reduce the risks. Drivers delivering NINA's bitumen are trained in safe bitumen delivery. Before leaving the depot each day, they run a safety check on their vehicles and safety equipment, also making sure that the vehicle labelling satisfies ADR requirements. When the driver arrives at your site, a site-specific safety induction should be performed to ensure that the site rules and procedures are fully understood. How good is your site induction procedure? Good traffic management with signage will help reduce transport accidents. Good access to the delivery point with minimal reversing is essential. Observe, think and act should begin at the beginning, when you order the product and grade. Something as simple as specifying the correct amount of bitumen is critical in the prevention of accidents. Will there be sufficient ullage in your storage tanks to take the load you're ordering? Always check. Then make sure your order details are clear and accurate. Observe, think and act. After weighing, the driver will report to the site representative, who must check the delivery document for the grade and the amount ordered. The ullage section of the delivery document must be signed. This confirms that the designated storage tank has enough safe working capacity to accept the load. Sites must operate a security connection system. Connection security is important to prevent product crossovers. The correct product in the correct storage tank. Bitumen is delivered at temperatures up to 200 degrees Celsius for asphalt plants. For industrial customers, the temperature can be higher. How it's delivered will depend on the type of system in use at the customer's site. Bitumen generally is delivered in two ways: pressure discharge or ground-based pump. In the UK, 70% of sites use a pressure discharge system. In this operation, the vehicle's compressor generates compressed air into the road barrel. When the tanker's main valve is opened, the bitumen is forced under pressure into the storage tank. In Western Europe and Nordic operations, as well as a pressure discharge system, the ground-based pump system is used. This draws bitumen from the tanker and pumps the product either to the top or into the bottom of the storage tank. The pump system uses less pressure and reduces the production of fumes. Discharge is potentially the most dangerous stage, with incidents like overspill most likely to happen during delivery. If a discharge gasket fails or a hose ruptures under pressure, the bitumen spray can be so fine it's almost invisible, yet still very dangerous. So, before any discharge begins, anyone in the area must be properly protected. Is your personal protective equipment correct, and are you following the signage?
Prevention is better than cure. It can only take a second or two for a bitumen burn to burn through the full thickness of the skin. This can lead to months, if not years of misery. The best way you can prevent this is by wearing your personal protection equipment for bitumen at all times.
Nobody in the discharge area can afford to ignore any detail of their PPE. Heavy one-piece reflective overalls must be fastened to the neck, with the trousers on the outside of calf-length safety boots. An approved helmet must be worn, with a safety visor and neck apron. And finally, suitable gauntlet-style gloves. The driver then collects his tools for use in the discharge area. Prior to discharge, always locate and check the shower or drench facility, which must be within 20 meters of the discharge area. Now it's time to connect, a critical stage. While protective clothing is vital, the real solution is to make good connections and avoid accidents in the first place. The connection security system allows the driver to unlock the designated tank. This gives him access to the inlet line connection flange. On pump discharge systems, access will normally be to the key control panel selector switches. Accident records show that even minor mistakes during connection or discharge can have horrific consequences. So, are your site's delivery instructions clearly displayed? The connection flange must be cleaned to ensure a safe and secure connection. The driver must also check the condition of the packings he's going to use for connection. They have to be in a good condition with no sign of any defects to make sure the connection is safe and secure. The hose should also be checked for any signs of defect. The security connection system will only allow access to the storage tank connection flange specified by the site representative. With connection safely made and the connection shroud covers closed, delivery can begin. The driver will be in sole charge of the vehicle, and he must stay by the shut-off valve during discharge, keeping unauthorized personnel away outside the 6-meter exclusion zone. The site representative must monitor the discharge process and make sure that only authorized personnel are inside the 6-meter exclusion zone. Your tanks must have independent overfill high-level warning technology. In this example, traffic light style monitoring is used. Gauges should be continuously monitored during tank filling. Here, the green light shows that this tank has enough safe capacity to take a full delivery load. That means that when delivery is complete, 10% of the tank's capacity remains as empty space above the bitumen. Where a pressure discharge system is used, this area accommodates the air blown through to empty the discharge hose and storage tank pipework when delivery is complete. The extra tank capacity also ensures that safe internal pressures are maintained if the bitumen expands for any reason, avoiding overspills. If the lights turn to amber, as in this simulation, the tank capacity has reached its safe working limit and delivery must be stopped. Here, the amber warning is linked to an audible high-level alarm. Your system must include an audible alarm. If discharge hasn't stopped, then the red warning will be triggered. This shows that the tank's safe working capacity has been exceeded. The safety margin of empty space inside the tank would be too small, with a severe danger of accidental overflow. Whatever the high-level alarm system used at your site, when it activates, delivery must stop. Site representatives must also be familiar with this procedure in case an incident leaves a driver injured and unable to perform the vehicle shutdown. If there's no immediate danger present, the driver will shut down the tanker using the emergency procedure. There are several emergency stop buttons situated around the vehicle. In this example, there are 2 at the rear and 2 in the middle of the vehicle, 1 on either side. In an emergency during pressure discharge, locate the nearest stop button and press it. Locate the main outlet control wheel known as the Homer valve. This is situated at the rear of the vehicle on the near side. Turn it clockwise until it tightens. Reopen the emergency stop button previously pressed. Locate the air splitter valve lever that's beneath the control wheel. Turn it into the open position. Finally, turn the ignition key to off in the cab. This will shut down the tanker's engine and electrical systems. With shutdown complete, the driver reports to the site representative. On your site, the emergency instructions may be different. After shutdown, the driver will alert the site representative according to the procedure as per the induction. For emergency tanker shutdown on a pressure delivery, locate and press an appropriate emergency stop button, close the main Homer wheel valve, reopen the stop button previously pressed, open the air splitter line to clear the pipework, turn off the engine via the ignition key. For emergency tanker shutdown on a ground-based pump, locate and press an appropriate emergency stop button. Close the main Homer wheel valve. Reopen the stop button previously pressed. Leave the tanker air inlet and outlet open to allow the ground-based pump to draw air to clear the tanker delivery pipework. Check the delivery pipework is clear. Turn off the ground-based pump. Report to the site representative. Returning to the delivery, everything is normal. Discharge is complete, and the gauges confirm safe working capacity has been maintained. Everything completed per instructions. The driver now disconnects the tanker from the bitumen discharge fill line. It's the driver's responsibility to lock the security connection. In this example, the key is then returned to the control room and the delivery paperwork is finalized. The driver must leave the discharge area how he found it: clean, secure and safe. However, the safe discharge of hot bitumen is only part of our story. Observe, think and act should be considered in the way people access your site, how you store the bitumen, and how the plant is maintained. Every site is different. Have you assessed the risks at your site? Site access must start with induction. Do visitors understand your site rules? Do they understand what to do in an emergency? This simple communication is at the heart of site safety culture. Walk your site and look at it from a visitor's point of view. Where are the risks? Is the delivery point easy to access with no uneven ground or obstacles? Is there segregation around the bitumen delivery point to protect both personnel and discharge from general site traffic? Is the area properly illuminated? It's a requirement to have regularly cleaned receptacles for hose drainings. Is there a clear space for the driver to work when they couple the tanker to the delivery connection? To prevent errors, are each of your tanks and delivery pipes clearly marked with their tank numbers and grades? And finally, think about your emergency provision. In an emergency, is there a clear procedure for alerting all personnel on site? Are your fire extinguishers easy to find? Remember, for bitumen, they should be foam or dry powder filled. Never use water jet on burning bitumen. It will only spread the fire. Have you installed an emergency shower or drench facility within 20 meters of the discharge area? If it's used, does it have an audible alarm? In most cases, the severity of burns is dramatically reduced if the skin is rapidly drenched in cold water. Make sure you have a ready supply of the EuroBitume Burns card. It gives vital information on the treatment of bitumen burns. And finally, if the worst happens, is there a clear, safe exit route from the delivery area? How good is your site access and emergency provision? Next, we come to the way you store bitumen on site. Where are the risks? Many incidents involving tank overfilling are caused by faulty tank gauges. Are your gauges installed, calibrated, checked and regularly serviced in line with EuroBitume guidance? It's also best practice to have independent visual and audible high and high level alarms installed on the receiving storage tanks. Again, these should be maintained according to manufacturer's recommendations and EuroBitume guidance. Hydrogen sulfide, a toxic and flammable gas which is heavier than air, can accumulate in closed spaces and in the headspace of storage tanks containing bitumen, and can reach potentially hazardous and lethal concentrations. Areas around man lids and ventilation pipes are risk areas for exposure, especially during filling operations. There is also a risk of potential hazardous concentrations in headspace of trucks. Another major risk factor is the location of the overflow and vent pipes. Are yours positioned where they don't pose a risk to the driver and personnel? If they do present a risk, they should be relocated as soon as possible. Always inspect your tanks to a planned maintenance schedule. Tank vents should be carefully cleaned to prevent blockages. Clear vents stop a vacuum developing when bitumen is discharged from the tank, protecting it from damage. More critically, clear vents also prevent over-pressurizing of the tank during filling, with a risk of a catastrophic rupture at its weakest point. Then there's the equally important risk factor of storage temperature. Always store normal pen grades of bitumen at EuroBitume recommended temperatures. For special grades, refer to NINAS recommended temperatures, which can be found in the appropriate safety data sheet. All these temperatures have been calculated to minimize the production of fumes. How precise is the temperature control at your site? If it's allowed to rise, emissions of particulates and hydrocarbons will increase. Most hazardous of all, poor temperature control increases the release of hydrogen sulfide, a gas that is colorless, highly toxic and flammable. The next thing to consider when storing bitumen is fire. If a fire starts anywhere near a storage tank, always call the fire emergency services. Do not attempt to tackle the fire yourself. Firstly, there's a risk of self-ignition if bitumen has leaked into tank insulation. If the insulation has been impregnated with bitumen, it must be replaced. If contaminated insulation cannot be immediately replaced, the risk of fire could be decreased by injecting steam through the use of steam lances. Secondly, a fire can occur inside the tank. This type of fire most often happens when the bitumen levels inside fall below the recommended level of 300 mm above the heating element. A third factor is thermostat failure, which allows the bitumen to overheat and ignite. Are your levels carefully monitored? And finally, another possible cause of internal tank fire is incorrect venting, resulting in pyrophoric deposits in the tank igniting. If bitumen residue or flammable vapors also ignite, a very serious incident will follow. Look at your current tank venting. A single permanently open vent that complies with current legislation will reduce fire risk. These vents prevent the air crossflow caused by multiple vent systems, which is known to create auto-ignition. There's also another, less obvious hazard associated with hot bitumen. That's the presence of water. If water comes into contact with hot bitumen, the mix will rapidly expand to around 2,000 times its original volume and erupt violently. If water is present in a tank that's due to be filled, the result will be disastrous. The boil-over will be forced under huge pressure through breather vents and overflow pipes, showering boiling bitumen over the surrounding area. Observe, think, and act. Bitumen accidents don't always happen because of a single mistake. Often, tragedy happens because of a series of small oversights. That's why attention to detail is critical at all times. For the haulier, the vehicle must be clean and dry before loading. Make sure the marking and labelling of your vehicle is correct. Have the correct documentation for loading and then delivery. Always wear the correct personal protective equipment. For the site induction must include your specific rules and procedures. Have a planned maintenance schedule for recalibration of your content gauges and high-level alarm systems. Regularly inspect and maintain your tank heating equipment and insulation. Maintain the recommended storage temperatures. Regularly inspect and maintain critical safety equipment. Keep your overflow and vent pipes clear. Clearly label tanks, gauges and valves. After major maintenance, shutdown or new equipment installation, always make sure tanks are dry before filling. A procedure delivery unload should be performed to a cold tank. Make sure your delivery procedures are maintained and understood. And finally, always wear the correct site-specific PPE. First aid for bitumen burns. Cool the affected area of the body as soon as possible. The burn should be drenched in water for a minimum of 10 minutes. For eye burns, drench in water for a minimum of 5 minutes. Please refer to First Aid in your practical quick guide within your NINAS safety booklet. These are the details that help make sure bitumen is delivered safely. If bitumen is treated with care by well-trained and committed people, it can be delivered safely every time. The NINAS team is committed to working with you, helping you to maintain a safe site when you're using our products. There's a lot of information available on safe bitumen delivery, storage and best practice. This can be obtained from NINAS and Eurobitume. By working together, we'll get everyone home safe every day. For more information and details, visit ninas.com.